collisions, and this was one of them.
They are two teams decimated by injury.
Boy, the injuries have mounted here in Saskatchewan.
But with their top receivers on the sideline, others continue to step up.
Hey, Tom, that's it. What's up, baby?
Russ Cates is now one of the most revered running backs in the CFL.
Who will rise up tonight? Riders, Eskimos next. Well, no doubt, a lot of Rider fans are going to make the trip to Edmonton tonight. Gaynor tried to make the trip. He's been getting a rough ride from both Eskimo mascots, Matt. You know, this is a little much, really. This is the intensity that we expect to see tonight as Week 9 begins in the CFL. Dave Randolph, Jock Climbing, Matt Dunigan, and Chris Schultz. The East Division has the week off. It's all about the West and a big game tonight. The Saskatchewan, this is going to be a great stretch drive for all of these teams. Saskatchewan has a bit of a lead with a 4-point bulge over the rest of the division, but they are hurt. The rest of the teams know it. They want to try to kick them while they're down, beginning tonight with the Eskimos, who are led, as always, by Ricky Ray Schultz.
And I'm looking forward to see how well he plays, because he had a fantastic first half in the previous BC Lion game. To me, Anthony Calvillo, Henry Burris, and Ricky Ray are two quarterbacks that can execute their system to perfection, but can also take over a game as an individual quarterback because of the velocity and the accuracy of their throws. Can Ricky Ray, even though he's coming off the bye week, have that same level of efficiency this game, this half of football, as he did previously?
Hey, Chris, Ricky Ray doesn't have a Wes Cates. He's got A.J. Harris, who's a fine back, but he doesn't have a Wes Cates. And so he's really been relying on his air attack, which we all know that Ricky can flourish in. And he's been really benefiting by the addition of Kelly Campbell, and he's nothing but speed. You talk to anybody on that staff, that organization, and Kelly Campbell has been heaven sent because of the injury to Jason Tucker. In fact, this guy is so fluid coming out of breaks. In fact, you don't see it there. That's actually not a very good route, but it's a touchdown because Ray puts it on the money. Here, that's what he does best. Getting up in the seam and attacking defenses vertically, and then running away from people, kind of getting lost in the shuffle. When you let a guy like that get some space, he is going to hurt you in a heartbeat, and he's going to slice and dice you with the likes of Ricky Ray, Jock.
Yeah, I talked to Danny Machoch a couple of weeks ago about Campbell. He said when he learns the CFL game, learns the waggle, the motion, and the field, he's going to be really dangerous. We're starting to see that, I think, from him. Now, he's got a tough job coming against the Saskatchewan defense. One of the things that Saskatchewan does really well is they put their people in different situations at different times. And I think one of the reasons, in fact, I know one of the reasons why Saskatchewan gives the offense so many different looks is for the next opponent. Because when you are preparing against Saskatchewan, you have to prepare against every single defensive look they come at you with, which is going to naturally reduce the number of times you get to practice what you're doing because you're so busy reacting to what they're going to do. Let's see how Edmonton reacts to that.
Speaking of being prepared, Saskatchewan head coach Ken Miller heard that it might rain tonight. The last 2 days of practice, they soaked the footballs, practiced with wet footballs in preparation for tonight's game. Soggy balls they practiced with for 2 full days. It's the Riders, it's the Eskimos, it's the CFL on TSN. Elizabeth Pabst of Edmonton, you could win a 2009 Nissan Titan if a kickoff is returned for a touchdown in tonight's game, thanks to Safeway's touchdown and win promotion. And if a second kickoff is returned, you win yourself $1 million. So good luck, Elizabeth. Now let's take it to Commonwealth here again to call the game, Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter.
Thank you, Dave, and welcome to Edmonton. TSN, the exclusive broadcaster of the Canadian Football League and proud home of the 2008 Grey Cup game. While the West swings back into action tonight after the bye with the largest crowd of the Canadian Football League season anticipated here at Commonwealth Stadium. And it feels like the postseason weather-wise, temperature a cool 11 degrees Celsius. And that wind will make it even feel a little bit chillier. Ken Miller's Riders dropped their first 2 weeks ago against Calgary. They are perfect on the road at 3-0. The Eskimos, on the other hand, the league's only unbeaten home team. Danny Machoch's Eskimos have won 9 of the last 10 here against Saskatchewan, but the Roughriders have won 4 straight over the Eskimos overall.
Tough to win in Commonwealth Stadium. Both these teams, as you mentioned, Chris, coming off a loss. We got a packed house here in Commonwealth. Huge crowd tonight for this Western matchup, and I think I agree with the panel and the guys we're talking about before the game. A lot of teams want to see if they can sneak up and catch Saskatchewan while they've got some injuries.
Noel Prefontaine puts the left foot into the ball. We're underway, and it's Weston Dressler from the 19-yard line. Taking it cross field and shut down. Calvin McCarty was waiting for him at the 26, just 8 on the return as Marcus Crandall makes his 5th start of the year, his 3rd consecutive leading the Roughriders offense out.
6 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions for Marcus Crandall, completing just shy of 60% of his passes. Wes Cates is in the backfield. He is the key tonight for this team, has been all season long. There's the receiving core. Andre Childs in there at slot back. And then the offensive line gets Glenn January back at tackle.
Starting lineups brought to you by Holiday Inn Hotels. Look again at Holiday Inn. First play is a give off the left side, and Wes Cates across the 30 up to the 32, and he has 5 after a 20-yard rushing game in his last performance.
Well, for the defensive line for the Edmonton Eskimos, no Jim Davis up front. Joe Anawai gets the start at that inside defensive lineman position. There is the linebacking core with Onatolu at linebacker because they're going to move Shadiq Shabazz back at safety, move Jason Goss over to halfback.
2nd and 5. Flags down, and they are out to Darius Bowman off his fingertips. He had a step on Jordan Younger, and of course he scorched Younger in the opening game of the season for a big touchdown.
Well, 2 things the Saskatchewan Roughriders have done right out of the gate. 1, they tried to establish Wes Cates on that first run, and also to stretch the defense going deep in play 2. Just off the fingertips.
Saskatchewan number 12. That penalty is declined. 3rd down.
And Bowman a little anxious. He was offside anyway.
Off the fingertips of Bowman, but the bottom line is it sends a message early. Number 1, that they're not afraid to go deep with the Darius Bowman on the outside, and also they want to get Wes Cates the football.
So Jamie Borum in to punt. And Tristan Jackson is back. And the Eskimos feeling that the break, the bye, will rejuvenate Tristan Jackson. Short punt. Jackson lets it bounce at around the 40. And he is not able to return it. 37-yard punt by Jamie Borum as Ricky Ray leads the green and gold out.
What a start for Ricky Ray as we approach the halfway mark of the season. Ray on fire, completing over 66% of his passes. Has A.J. Harris in the backfield. He has a 5-yard rushing average. There's the receiving core. Fred Stamps out at wide receiver. Kelly Campbell leading that group in yardage. And then the offensive line, Patrick Kubongo off to a good start up front.
Eskimos were out of the gate quickly last week, scoring a first possession touchdown against BC. And he goes to work early underneath A.J. Harris, the catch at the 48-yard line. Again, we mentioned the matchup, number 1 passing offense against the number 1 rated defense of Saskatchewan.
Well, as they wait for John Chick to return to the lineup at that rush end position, they go with Shante Williams outside. We'll be interested to watch him play in his first start. There's the linebacking core. What a start for Anton McKenzie as we approach the halfway mark. And the veteran Eddie Davis leads that secondary. He's the quarterback back there. He is the rock for that group.
And they do get James Johnson back on the corner after missing 2 with a concussion. 2nd and 5 for Ray. Pressure on, and Ray is dropped. 1 sack for the Roughriders in game 1 against Edmonton, and Scott Schultz has his first of the season on the opening series.
You know, I talked to Patrick Kubongo before the game about Scott Schultz, and he basically said, boy, it's tough. He does so many things so well, Scott Schultz. Whether it be a power rush, he's a smart player. Straight bull rush from Schultz there. He goes one-on-one with Comiskey right over the middle and just drives him back into the lap of Ricky Ray.
Roughrider fans will like the looks of Shante Williams, who was putting on heat too. And here's Dressler on the return out at the 45-yard line. 2 and outs to start for both. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people. So good field position for the Roughriders 30-second start at the 45-yard line. 5-receiver package. Flags down. Looked like the Roughriders might be offside. And the intended target, Michael Palmer, incomplete. And maybe the bye for both teams has shown a little rust here.
They might have to take a couple of series just to get going again, but that looks like it may go against Edmonton. Wes Cates the key to the Saskatchewan Roughriders offense. When you take a look at the 6 games.
Edmonton number 42, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
6 games that this team won. He was averaging around 144 yards from scrimmage. That's what that 866, if you divide it into 6, will come to. And then last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, just 72 yards, held to 20 yards rushing. Danny Machocha said it yesterday in the press conference. Key for us on defense, stop Wes Cates.
Brandon Gilroy was offside, so it's 1st and 5 for Saskatchewan. A little pump and go, and Corey Grant was the intended target. It falls incomplete. And they're going to find out if Jordan Younger's hamstring's all right, apparently.
Exactly what I was going to say, Chris, that they obviously have pre-scouted that they're going to go and try and attack Jordan Younger on that corner who returns to the lineup and see how the hamstring is doing. Can he go and turn deep? He hasn't been beaten badly, although both times, that time Corey Grant, the first time Adarius Bowman, were slightly in behind him. They're going to go after him a little bit.
Look who checks in for his first defensive series with the Edmonton Eskimos. Scott Coe exclusively on special teams in his debut against the Lions a couple of weeks ago. 2nd and 5, and that pass is incomplete, intended for Weston Dressler.
I mentioned that to Scott Coe before the game, went over and talked to him and said, Scott, you know, I've watched you play football for a lot of years, and this color uniform is going to take me a while. And he said, you know, when I walked in here at Commonwealth Stadium for my very first practice, I walked right into the visitors' locker room. He said, that's just been so automatic. I thought when you walk in, he'd just go and tackle Ricky Ray or something. That didn't happen. He's trying to find his way, but he's happy to be playing again.
Good news for Scott is they're not going to let him dye his hair green or gold. Good punt by Borum. And as Jackson back at his 6-yard line, but a good return. Had just 2 returns for 4 yards in the opener against the Roughriders. There is a penalty marker on the play. Back at Commonwealth, then on the sidelines, Ray Morrison.
You know, it's interesting. This is a date when the Eskimos host the Roughriders. The teams and their fans circle on their calendar. But in recent times, in the last couple of years, the Edmonton Eskimos have absolutely owned the Saskatchewan Roughriders when it comes to games at Commonwealth Stadium. As a matter of fact, the Eskimos have won 4 of the last 5 games. I talked to many of the Roughriders about that. This was something they were concerned about a couple of years ago. You can see the margin of loss for the Riders, 1 and 2 points, some close games. But the one thing that the Riders have pointed out this year on the heels of the 07 Grey Cup is it just doesn't matter anymore. This is a new time, a new year, as opposed to the way they were thinking a couple of years ago.
One thing that stays the same, plenty of those fans are here at Commonwealth Stadium to cheer on their team. Holding penalty on the return. Eskimos start deep, and Matt Bertrand can't bring in that pass, and we're seeing both offenses stuck in neutral here early.
Well, and the reason for it is like the first time that these two teams played against each other, Ricky Ray, when they're on the field, is getting pressure. This time it's going to come from Maurice Lloyd, eventually the linebacker, number 47, so he doesn't have time to step into throws. It was very similar in the first game that Saskatchewan won. Ray only was sacked once, but they were in his face a bunch.
Never got to set his feet in that game. As you mentioned, 1 sack, that was from John Chick. 2nd and 10, more pressure, just gets out of the end zone, and he'll be dropped at the 5. Anton McKenzie was hanging on. Ray got back to the line of scrimmage and won, but he was dangerously in that end zone with plenty of heat.
Anton McKenzie is just having a tremendous year. 38 tackles coming into this game. He has a couple of interceptions. He has a sack. He gets pressure here along with Shante Williams up the middle. That was the first pressure. There's Williams trying to pull Ray down, and then here comes Anton McKenzie to help clean up. And this defense gives you so many different looks. They're not always full blitzing. It's just hard to tell who's coming and when they're coming.
So Prefontaine, standing 10 yards deep in his end zone, will, in all likelihood, concede the first 2 points of the game. Just watching that replay again, Shante Williams has been prominent in his opening couple of series, and Ken Miller told us yesterday that
Edmonton number 7, half the distance to the goal line, remains third down.
Eskimos killing a little of the clock here as they work into the wind in the first quarter before conceding the safety. But Ken Miller was excited about the prospects of a 6'6" end on his defense. A little different look for that Saskatchewan front. So now Prefontaine will scamper in the end zone, try and kill a few more seconds. And finally out under duress, a late block provided as well by Scott Coe on Renault Williams, just to introduce himself to the Saskatchewan-Edmonton rivalry.
That was late, right as Noel Prefontaine was just going to step out of bounds. Scott Coe is going to come in here from the very top of your screen, and he's got his target, Renault Williams. He just hopes he can get it in before.
Was that ever late?
Prefontaine gets out of bounds. Now, Prefontaine was on the track, so Scott Coe is lucky he didn't get a flag there. Nevertheless, that'll be an interesting matchup, because you can bet that Renault Williams and Coe will be against each other on these special teams.
Yes, that'll set a tone.
And Williams will not forget either. You remember those hits, and you just try to keep your discipline so you don't get a penalty, a retaliation type penalty, and then you wait for another special team down the road, and then you try and get your revenge then.
Might not have to wait long, because the Eskimos are going to kick this off, and look who's out on the kick return team.
Well,
and on the kick cover team.
Yeah, and Renault Williams, he looked down about three. There's his fourth look down the field to try and find where Scott Coe is lined up.
48-24. Likely on a collision course sometime tonight.
You can bet that Scott Coe will be the arrow or the hammer going right down to the ball.
Prefontaine to boot it. And Dressler on the run at the 26. Across the 40. And brought down there. So let's see if Marcus Crandall can get Saskatchewan's offense off the mark first.
Well, we talked about Wes Cates and how important he is. The last game Saskatchewan played in their first loss against Calgary, Calgary Stampeders did a nice job of taking him away early, and Saskatchewan, what they didn't do all year long, they always stuck with him. Even if he was struggling early or not getting those big yards early, they still stuck with him. They didn't 2 weeks ago.
Second in yards from scrimmage behind only Avon Coburn of the Alouettes. Takes it off the right side, and Cates with a good run will step out at the 48, and 6 for Wes Cates, who had 86 in the season opener against the Eskimos on the ground.
Well, he's so smooth, and after the bye week, guys like Wes Cates get their, they're able to heal up some of those bumps and bruises. See that nice smooth cut to the outside. I mean, that looked like a real nothing play that he picked up good yards, 6-7 yards on first down. That's why Saskatchewan's been successful on offense. They get good production on first down from number 20.
Needs 64 yards tonight to regain the rushing lead over Coburn in the CFL. 2nd and 4, and he lines up at a receiver position. Montez Murphy, and a crosser to Wes Cates, and Wes Cates is inside the 40 and finally pulled down by that new safety for the Eskimos, Sadiq Shabazz.
Cates lines up here, and this is how versatile he is as a wide receiver. And then they'll waggle him down in motion. Here comes, this is called a waggle. He just waggles down in towards the line of scrimmage, towards his offensive line, then quick crossing route. He gets the angle, the leverage on his cover man, and now he's got the corner. Different ways for the Saskatchewan Roughriders to use Wes Cates. Line him out as a wideout, put him in the back as a tailback.
27 for number 20. That was Kenny Onatolo, who he eluded. First down. Just outside the Eskimo 35. Crandall, quick hitter. Weston Dressler, the seam route, still going. Inside the 10. Dressler, touchdown. Weston Dressler, a 35-yard touchdown, and the Roughriders strike first.
They do, and they go right through the middle. Sadiq Shabazz, the linebacker, is now the new safety, and he lines up right there. Now, as a new safety, he's got his job, and the reason he's back there is to be worried about Wes Cates. He gets a little over to the outside, a little too far to the field. Dressler cuts back against his face, right across his face, and gets into the end zone.
Just made it to the goal line. His third touchdown of the year. Had one in the Roughriders' last game in that frantic fourth quarter when the Roughriders almost came back from 30 to 4 down.
Time count violation. Saskatchewan number 10. Go back 5 yards and repeat the convert attempt.
And the Roughriders take a time count.
Well, Saskatchewan early in this game, couple of things. They went after Jordan Younger twice to see how his hamstring was, and now they're going to test out the change that Edmonton has made in their secondary by moving Sadiq Shabazz to safety and Jason Goss to the halfback.
Kanji with the extra point, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders have a 9-point lead. The CFL on TSN, brought to you in part by the 2008 GMC Sierra, professional grade. Well, after a sluggish couple of series for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they look very sharp on that possession, and Weston Dressler hooks up with Marcus Crandall, 35-yard touchdown for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and a 9-point lead. Orm sends it to Tristan Jackson, who lets it bounce into the end zone, and he's just going to concede a single point. So Tristan Jackson with perhaps a mistake.
Saskatchewan offensively going after the changes early in this game for the Edmonton Eskimos on defense. Here comes Dressler 101. Now he's going on Jonte Buell, and as he breaks in, he's going to get a pick help there from Palmer. Now he comes in. Now Sadiq Shabazz, the safety, has got to keep his momentum in the middle. His momentum is taking him this way, and of course Dressler's going the opposite way, and you can see how that gets him in trouble. The key to playing free safety is being patient and staying straight in the middle, and the play will come to you. Sadiq Shabazz overplayed it. He went too far to the outside, and of course Dressler took advantage of that and found the end zone.
Eskimos felt that Shabazz would be able to handle the safety responsibilities, a former safety with the Oakland Raiders, as they give Saskatchewan a new look, but the Roughriders expose it. Now Ricky Ray from the 35 to work more pressure. Greg Snaps drops the ball.
You know, Ricky Ray comes into this game on fire. We mentioned off the top, and he's, in fact, when you look at his projected numbers, yardage-wise over the season, he's going to join an elite group. Only 4 quarterbacks in the history of the league have got 6,000 yards in a season. The other 2 were David Archer and Anthony Calvillo, but that he could finish 3rd. In order to do that now, he's going to have to get more protection up front. He has just not been able to set his feet early in this game.
That Eskimo offensive line's done a nice job this year after the opener, giving him protection, but more heat now, and finally the third option is A.J. Harris trying to lunge for the first down. Looks like he'll be about a yard or 2 short, depending on the spot.
You just take a look at what Saskatchewan will do. I mean, Saskatchewan, they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, of those 5 up front, who is going to come and who is not? That's what you don't know, right? Maurice Lloyd this time drops out, but it could have been any one of the 4 or 5 up front. So it's awful tough for the offensive line, and depending on this spot, we'll see how close A.J. Harris got.
About a yard and a half short.
That's too far.
So the 3rd consecutive 2 and out. For the Eskimos. And the Roughriders have too many. Scott Schultz was scampering off. No flag. Weston Dressler dropped at the 26-yard line as Andrew Nowacki, one of the first men downfield.
Scott Schultz, you're right, just barely got off, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders are lucky they didn't get too many men penalty on that kick, because it would have given Edmonton a first down. But Scott Schultz, he was on his horse, to the sideline and got just out of bounds in time. So Ken Miller, Danny Machocha yelling at the time saying, hey, that's too many men. He wanted to get that freebie. But he does gain a little field position.
There is a conference with the officials and gives us a chance to take a look at. And
Look at it go. 96 right there. I mean, there's Scott Schultz. He realizes that, oh, this is punt return and I'm not on that. And he takes off, and Danny Machocha wanted a penalty for too many men.
And now he's going to get a conference with Murray Clark.
The play as ruled on the field is not subject to challenge.
Yeah, Danny Machocha cannot challenge a penalty, and I don't think he threw his challenge flag. He really just wanted to get the attention of the officials and try and see if he could talk to him about whether or not Scott Schultz got off. If you're trying to substitute a player on and he's late, then you usually get the penalty. But a player can get off as long as he's off before the snap of the ball.
At the 27, Roughriders go to work. Wes Keats the handoff and somehow squirts through up to the 35. So Keats with 8 more.
Well, it's just so many ways that you could use him, and you look at his carries, 110, 652 yards rushing coming in. That's a 5.9, basically a 6-yard average. But he also makes those big catches, and not just swing pass running back type of catches, but Wes Cates can go deep. He can run the corner or the post route.
We saw that in the game against Edmonton to start the season. Ended up losing his helmet, gets a first down here. That was a 40-yard grab that he caught over his shoulder, lost the helmet, but hung on to the football, and he's done it all so far this season. And it looks like he has fresh legs after the break.
Yeah, and out of the great running backs in the CFL this year, and there are a bunch, I think Wes Cates has the best leg drive of all of them. He gets those legs going, and one guy wraps him up. It doesn't matter if it's a D lineman or not. You can't bring him down. He is just so strong with that leg drive.
I think you just booked a meeting with Joffrey Reynolds tomorrow. First down underneath, and Keats has another play. Jason Goss brings him down. 4-yard pickup for the busy Wes Cates.
There he was out as a wide receiver again, showing his versatility. And here's that game you were talking about, Chris, in the very beginning of the season. Cates breaking tackles up the middle on the run. And that's the normal running back stuff, but he can also make those moves on the outside. He can make you miss or run over you.
In the last game, 14 touches, lowest of the season for Wes Cates. 4 on that catch, 2nd and 6. Quickly to Bowman, and the timing off on that play, and that ball was sailing past Bowman as he was making his cut.
And so defensively, Saskatchewan will punt the ball here, but if you're the Edmonton defense now and you're trying to defend against Wes Cates, not a real big surprise that Sadiq Shabazz goes back to safety. I mean, the reason he's there, that's a linebacker, a former safety, as you mentioned, in the NFL, but a linebacker in the CFL moves back to safety. Boy, that really helps you on the run. Now, can Shabazz hang in there on the pass is the question.
A lot of shifting around here by the Roughriders punt team. And Tristan Jackson will field this at his 15. 25. And a return of close to 15 for Tristan Jackson. So 10-0 Saskatchewan here with 3.5 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. Ricky Ray and the Eskimos offense looking for a little traction here after Ray recorded his 5th ever 400-yard passing game. They swing it out, A.J. Harris. That might slow down the rush a bit as Harris takes it up to the 40-yard line, brought down by the returning corner, James Johnson.
Marcus Adams was right in the face of Ricky Ray, but again, you're right. This is a play to try and get the ball out of Ricky Ray's hands as quickly as possible. Watch 51 come right through the line untouched, and now he's got to dump it out there quickly. He's still getting hit as he throws the ball, but boy, it's been a man in his face every single time for Ricky Ray.
Another tackle for Anton McKenzie. It was Eddie Davis also in on that play, and it's a pickup of just over 9 yards. It'll be second and less than a yard. Big boys hunker down. Second and short. And Ray plunging just off the left side behind Calvin Armstrong for the first down for the Eskimos in this opening quarter.
So what do you do if you're Ricky Ray and you're having problems setting your feet and throwing those 5 or 7 step drops? One way you can do it is to get A.J. Harris involved. We saw that little swing pass to him. That's one thing. You can screen it to your running back or run the ball and attack the line of scrimmage. So when the defense is moving one way, you're moving the opposite. Maybe you catch him and you get a gap.
Running the ball's been a problem for the Eskimos. Their last game against BC, 16 yards rushing in the game. Short drop, quick hitter. Kamal Peterson the catch. And into Rough Rider territory at the Saskatchewan 52.
That's the other way. You get a veteran receiver like Kamal Peterson to recognize that you just do not have a lot of time if you're Ricky Ray, and so you got to make your break quickly and present a target quickly. And that's what Kamal Peterson did. And boy, has he stepped in and become a real leader on this team since Jason Tucker left due to injury.
Had a couple of touchdowns in the last game against BC. Now has 25 in his career. First down, A.J. Harris has some room straight ahead to the Rough Rider 46.
There you go, and that's the type of play that will make Kitwana Jones, Marcus Adams, Shante Williams. It'll make those guys look at A.J. Harris. It'll make them hesitate as they get off the football on the snap of the football. Scott Schultz right in there too. That kind of play, and it's good success on first down, so now Ricky Ray has lots of options.
So 2nd and 3 for Edmonton. Working against the wind, first quarter. Maurice Lloyd jumped the gun as he beat the snap of the football. Let's find out if he was drawn.
That's the other way to slow down a pass rush.
Offside, Saskatchewan number 47. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Maurice Lloyd trying to disguise his rush on the blitz and time it up on the snap count. Ricky Ray changed the snap count, and he jumps offside because of it. If you go on the same snap count every single time, the defense can get that timing down.
Half minute left, first quarter. Looked like early movement again. A.J. Harris out of the backfield. And he's wrapped up and tossed down by Lance Frazier. Both teams did some self-scouting during the break, and you wonder if maybe the Eskimos have changed something up, breaking a tendency that Saskatchewan was anticipating.
There. Offside, Saskatchewan number 95. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
This time Luke Mullender was anxious.
That's Ricky Ray just using snap counts and varying his snap counts to try and slow down the pass rush so they don't get that timing down. They can't hit the ball or hit the line of scrimmage running full speed towards it. Quarterback can stagger his count like Ricky Ray is doing. Makes it tougher. You have to wait to see the ball move before you can go on defense.
Not expecting a lot of penalties in this game. These the 2 lowest penalized teams in the league. Mix up there, but A.J. Harris has got a big first down into the secondary and gone. A.J. Harris, touchdown. A 37-yard romp, his longest longest of the year.
Well, that was a play that obviously the Saskatchewan Roughriders didn't see, and neither did Ricky Ray, to be honest, because it was a mistake in the backfield. Either A.J. Harris went the wrong way or Ray went the wrong way. Either way, it worked for them because Ray stuck with it, turned around and gave it to him underneath, and then A.J. Harris does the rest. Nice cut back there in the open field.
Big block by Calvin Armstrong, and maybe they have to draw it up that way because it sure worked. Who says the Eskimos can't run? Prefontaine adds the extra point. Final play of the opening quarter, a good one for the Eskimos as they get back in it. 10-7 Roughriders. First quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders, Wes Cates has 55 of their net yards, and A.J. Harris gets going late in that first quarter. You mentioned, Chris, with Edmonton that they did some self-scouting about how many passes, how many rushes they're bang on, about 50-50 there. Pretty even.
Rubber finally hit the road, though. It was a slow start, and finally a touchdown drive. 7 plays, 80 yards, so just about all their offense was on that final drive of the first quarter.
Well, it was, and they changed things up in that final drive because Ray was having problems setting his feet, throwing the ball in those intermediate routes, so they went to the quick passing game and then involved A.J. Harris a bunch and had some success with it.
So the team switch ends. And the Roughriders lead now 3. There's Henri Childs back with Weston Dressler. Eskimos with their only home game in August, one of only 2 Edmonton Eskimo games in the entire month. Dressler across the 35. And brought down at the 38-yard line. Matt Bertrand led the way downfield, and A.J. Harris upfield 37 yards for the touchdown scamper.
You know what's amazing is that A.J. Harris and Ricky Ray stuck with this play, even though it was a broken play. It was a play that most of the time you'll see players kind of stand there and look at each other like, whoop, it went the wrong way. They stuck with it, and then A.J. Harris did a nice job in the open field to make that break and get to the outside to the end zone.
The reaction shows you he knows it wasn't drawn up that way. Marcus Crandall and the Roughriders go back to work. Sarkar releases from the backfield, and that pass for Cates skips incomplete, and Kenny Anatolo was in his hip pocket.
Yeah, Anatolo is going to have to cover Wes Cates coming out of the backfield, and then with Sadiq Shabazz at safety, they can move him down and have him help on the run because he is a linebacker, or he can also take Wes Cates coming out of the backfield. But these changes really would look and indicate that the goal for Edmonton on defense is Wes Cates.
Danny Machocha told us yesterday that one of the reasons they can move Shabazz back to safety is because of Anatolo's abilities. 2nd and 10, pressure, and that falls incomplete. Pass behind the intended target, Dressler.
That time Anatolo again stayed with Cates coming out of the backfield, and they also left Sadiq Shabazz in the middle over top of Wes Cates so that they almost double teamed the back, and now they look like they're going to start to try and take him away. Let's show you Cates there just to the left of your screen. He's kind of half in. Now he comes back. There's Anatolo with the jam, and he'll trail him, and you can see he's got lots of room over top, a lot of help over top from his teammates.
A little conversation between Crandall and Mike Washington. After that play, Washington was also in the vicinity. Bourne back in to kick. Tristan Jackson lets that bounce. So one hop from the 31. And he is hit, bounced off, first contact. 42-yard kick, 7 on the return.
You know, with Tristan Jackson, it's not a matter of if, it's just when. He's got fresh legs back. The young players around game 8 or 9 in a season in pros, you start to think, are they going to get tired out because it's the end of a college season for them? But look at his numbers overall in this field goal return, his punt returns. He scored 3 different ways for Edmonton. so far this year, and every time he gets the ball, he's one of those guys. You know, you look at him and you say, it's not a matter of if he can return one, it's a matter of when he will return one.
Danny Machocha feels he is so valuable on the return team that he wants him just exclusively thinking about that right now. Felt that they overworked him in the secondary as well.
Well, and he had some problems in the BC game 2 weeks ago, but this bye has allowed him to get his legs back. I mentioned he is a young player, and
Sebastian Clovis shaken up, and as he heads off, we'll take a break here early in the second quarter. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN brought to you by Sport Check. When you're in the zone, time almost stands still. Getting into the zone begins with Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. So the Roughriders scored the first 10 points. A.J. Harris answered with what officially is a 36-yard touchdown run. And the Eskimos back to work on offense starting at their 38. And Ricky Ray airing it out looking for Kelly Campbell. Jump ball, and it is picked off. Lance Frazier down with it. And an interception for Frazier at the Saskatchewan 36. And for Frazier, a league leading fourth, matching Baron Miles, the BC Lions.
Kelly Campbell, I think, is going to bat this up into the air. He run the corner route here on Lance Frazier. I think he bats this up. He tries to time his jump, and he tips it up and gives Frazier a second chance at it on his way down to the ground. There's the tip. Lance Frazier in perfect position on that inside shoulder.
That the 7th interception thrown by Ray. And stacked up is Wes Cates. Ricky Ray threw 3 interceptions, one on a Hail Mary in the final play of the BC game. The only other time he's had a multi-interception game this year was game 1 against Saskatchewan.
We're still here.
When James Johnson had a couple.
It's a tough defense to play against. Ricky Ray knows that better than anybody, that Saskatchewan Roughriders, their defensive coordinator Richie Hall is a master at disguise and giving different looks, and they have the talent back there to make the big plays.
Second and close to 10, and Michael Palmer sat down and has a first down catch at the 53.
Palmer does a nice job of sitting down in the middle of this zone here. He's right here, and he's just going to come right down the field and then turn and sit down in the zone. And Crandall guns this one in there. It's been a couple of years. I talked to Crandall about wearing 2 gloves. Not many quarterbacks wear gloves on both hands, including his throwing hand. And he put a lot of heat on that with that glove on his throwing hand.
And to thread the needle with Eskimo defenders surrounding Palmer. Now over the middle, what a catch. Weston Dressler brought it down, and he's down to the Edmonton 32-yard line.
Speaking of gloves,
those were sticky.
Yeah, Dressler just stabbed that one with one hand, and I mean, here he is right here. You can see him, number 7. All he's going to do is do that crossing route, and Crandall has to put this ball high because Augie Baranachea is there. That's a nice catch, made look routine by Dressler.
Already a touchdown catch of the game. That's for 26. And the Roughriders staff pretty excited about the potential of Dressler as a receiver and return man. Now Crandall for Palmer, incomplete. Unable to come up with it inside the 10.
Crandall had an option to run the football. He was working out that hamstring, and the bye week came at a perfect time for Crandall because he had the problem with the hamstring in that last game against Calgary. It wasn't quite right. He had a little room to run there, but thought he'd try and lead Palmer out there, who really should have had that.
That was on the money from Crandall.
Yeah.
You mentioned running the football, and Ken Miller told us yesterday that he does have to make some plays with his legs through a game, and is now more equipped to do that with the backfield hamstring, hit screen, and Darius Bowman trying to get to the first down stick. And a flag as he crossed the 20-yard line, which would have been a first down, but he may have been sprung by an illegal block.
Well, Jordan Younger got up quickly and pointed. I think it was to Dressler.
Saskatchewan number 7.
Yeah, it was.
Penalty. Repeat second down.
It's going to happen to the left side of your screen. A designed hitch screen to Bowman on the outside. There's Dressler right there. He gets tied up with Jordan Younger, and they're both holding each other. It was a close one.
Result, a net loss of 25. Ball brought back to the 41.
Almost looked like Jordan Younger held Dressler close to him.
2nd and 20. Crandall for Palmer off his fingertips as he was unable to bring it in one-handed.
You know, Palmer kind of let up on this one. You know, he looked like it was a combination route where Dressler, hold it there for a second, guys. Dressler's going this way, and Palmer is coming this way. And when Palmer makes his break, it's to the left of your screen. You'll see it as they come out. There's Dressler, number 7. He's going to the corner, and Palmer comes in. He kind of hesitates, thinking, am I supposed to go all the way in, or am I supposed to sit down here? He just wasn't quite sure, and that hesitation cost him that catch.
So Crandall looked on the money on that drive. Didn't get some help. Once again, there's an extra man, or at least confusion in this field goal set. Renal Williams went out. Now he scampers back into the mix. He better get there, or this one might be blocked.
That's a gooch kick here.
Kanji from 49 yards out. And this one dropped short. They did have an onside man, but here's Tristan Jackson. And Jackson all the way out across the 35-yard line as that field goal came up short into the wind. Well, I know Richie Hall, one of your favorite former teammates, an undersized guy who always played big.
Yeah, Richie Hall with 9 years in the Canadian Football League as a player. Started out with the Calgary Stampeders, was a teammate of mine in '94, my final season, and I know how smart he was in the huddle and was really a defensive coordinator as a player. And when you look what this defense has done under his leadership, truly amazing. I mean, this defense, number 1 in the main categories: yards per game allowed, number 1, passing TDs allowed, passing yards allowed. This is a passing game in the CFL, and when you're number 1 in passing yards allowed per game, you've got the right mixture. And Richie Hall has really led this group to be such a devastating and powerful defense. Give you so many different looks. Makes it confusing for the offensive line to block. Even 2 down linemen a few times this year that had other defensive coordinators like Greg Marshall calling Richie Hall to say, hey, what kind of luck's that? But everything's worked so far. Ricky Ray, though, has Kelly Campbell wide open. Corkscrews himself into the ground at the Saskatchewan 53. As Kelly Campbell found plenty of room in that Richie Hall defense that time. Yeah, he did, because Ricky Ray, first of all, has time to throw, because watch Campbell work his way into the middle. He's going down like he's going deep, then he breaks it off and comes into the middle. That takes a while to run that route, because he went about 25 yards down the field and then came back. Ricky Ray hasn't had that much time against this Richie Hall defense this game until then.
20-yard gain for Campbell, who is 6th in the league in receiving. 1st and 10. Flag down. Ray flushed. Gets outside and will step out with another first down pending the penalty marker. But Marcus Adams is telling us there's a holding call upcoming against Edmonton. Well, is it?
Illegal block. Hands to the face. Saskatchewan number 96. That penalty is declined. First down.
Now, I saw Scott Schultz after that play. I thought it might have been holding too, but I thought Scott Schultz after that play turn around and kick the flag.
He did kick the flag and got one of the officials to react to that. Let's find out what happened.
Well, he's got his hands
up against Calvin Armstrong.
Yeah, and I guess he had his hands. It's hard to tell from that angle, but he had his hands up in the face mask of Armstrong.
A.J. Harris straight ahead. Good collision there with Anton McKenzie.
Got to give A.J. Harris some credit. He knows the stats the Saskatchewan Roughriders defense has as well coming into this game, and it hasn't affected him. He attacked that line of scrimmage full speed. And then he got the bubble he needed at the line of scrimmage, so his momentum took him right into Maurice Lloyd and Anton McKenzie, but he was the hammer, not the nail.
So A.J. Harris has had a good night, bolstered in large part by the 36-yard touchdown run.
Edmonton number 64 is reporting as an eligible receiver.
Now 2nd and 3. Tim Baker checks in as a tight end. Harris the lone back. 3 receivers out. A.J. Harris kicks it outside. First down more. And Omar Morgan has to drag him down. So the Eskimos are showing us a running game.
This heads up from A.J. Harris, because what he notices is what I noticed, which was the linebackers, Maurice Lloyd and Anton McKenzie. There's McKenzie there, and there's Lloyd there. Watch how they both commit into the line of scrimmage immediately on the snap of the ball. Those 2 linebackers sneak up, they commit. Bam, they're in there now. A.J. Harris recognizes that, so he bounces to the outside with no linebackers to scrape and get to him, and it's the secondary that'll have to bring him down.
So the Eskimos threatening now at the Rough Rider 20-yard line. First down, 4 receivers wide side. And time for Ray, gunning it to Stamps, who has it inside the 10. And another first down brought down by James Johnson. And that's what they like about Fred Stamps, his ability to catch the ball in traffic over the middle.
Well, and the Edmonton Eskimos right now, Chris, they're doing a lot of that. There's Stamps there, who is going to end up coming right in here. They are doing a lot of attacking the middle, which is really the heart of this Saskatchewan defense, with Anton McKenzie and Maurice Lloyd in there. But they've run 3-4 plays in a row right over the middle now.
First and goal from the 8. And Ray drops back, pressure to the end zone. Touchdown, Kamau Peterson. An 8-yard touchdown pass to number 8, who has his 3rd in the last game and a half.
Kamau Peterson is the 3rd receiver inside close. Little shake move on Eddie Davis, and then continues. You know, one of the great things about Canadian football is the size of the end zone. It's 20 yards deep. Kamau Peterson used all 20 and got in behind Eddie Davis, the veteran, in the corner.
So after a sluggish start, the Eskimos now enjoy their first lead of the night. It's 14-10. Well, there's still time to enter Wendy's Kick for $1 Million contest, so you could be one of 2 kickers from the West or East to take a shot at those great prizes. Check in at tsn.ca/Wendy's for more information.
I was going to automatically take the West guy or girl. I want to see them. I want to see the preliminaries.
No, you've committed already.
Can I do some scouting? See the finals?
And don't worry, folks, Glenn Sealer will not be the holder. Weston Dressler up to the 30-yard line. That's where the Rough Riders will try and answer back after the Kamau Peterson go-ahead touchdown for Edmonton.
Both linebackers for Saskatchewan, Lloyd and McKenzie again. There's McKenzie and there's Lloyd again. Commit into the line because they see play action to A.J. Harris. I want to show you this angle because watch how Ricky Ray will give up ground. He's going to give up ground. He knows eventually he's going to get some pressure from McKenzie, so he gives up ground. He buys himself about another split second, and that's all he needed to thread the needle in there to Kamal Peterson. Real nice throw, leading him across the field.
So it goes down as an 8-yard touchdown pass, and that probably was about a 35-yarder from the point Ray releases to the back of the end zone for Kamal Peterson. Here's Wes Cates taking the toss left side, and he'll power his way to the 35-yard line.
Really the kind of game we expected here tonight between these two Western rivals. And when you look at the West Division, it is such a bottleneck after Saskatchewan. BC and Calgary playing tomorrow night. Ken Miller, that, you know, these coaches both know the importance heading into Labor Day of this game. Get some real momentum, and Danny Machocha a chance to close the gap on the front runners.
2nd and 5, flag down, and Sarka, the ball carrier, close to a first down. First carry for the Canuck truck tonight.
You know, in the game, the thing about this game, Chris, that I've enjoyed in this first half, I'm sure our viewers have as well, is the chess match that's gone on. Both these coaching staffs, these teams are so well prepared.
Edmonton, number 95, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Montez Murphy offside there for Edmonton, but both these teams so prepared, especially coming out of the bye. They had a chance to self-scout. That means looking at their own film, looking for their own tendencies that other teams may see and changing those things. And both these teams had that. We've seen well-coached teams make adjustments here as this game has gone on, and a 4-point game, and that's pretty much what was expected.
Ken Miller told us that in their self-scouting wanted to see more formations and more extensions of formations, giving defenses different looks. Crandall, Corey Grant, the new dad, and he'll be dragged down by Jonte Buell. Corey Grant getting a little extra time back home to celebrate the birth of daughter Kiana.
Congratulations to Corey. And you know that when you talk about formations, that's interesting. Ken Miller's, when they looked at that self-scouting and they looked at the formations, they said, you know, every team runs different formations. We started to get predictable in the plays we were calling in the formation. So we didn't change many formations. We just added some plays to it to throw the defense off.
2nd and a couple. Cates stacked, and he'll be dropped behind the line of scrimmage. Dario Romero says, no way. And he's been the heart of that defensive line all season long.
Yeah, he's in the middle of that defensive line. Dario Romero, it's, you know, against Wes Cates, you've got to be disciplined. And that means defensively, if you got a gap, and Dario Romero had what's called the B gap. That was between the guard and the tackle. And he took that gap and stayed disciplined in that gap, and that's right where Wes Cates ended up.
Lawrence punt, a one-hopper, and here's Jackson. Running backwards, and Tristan Jackson dropped for a loss. Ball came loose, but the whistle has sounded. And he loses 7 on the return after a 40-yard punt. The Eskimos back to work on offense after a touchdown drive on their last series. Started over the middle.
Kelly Campbell. Then they ran. That play designed to go into the middle. Now, A.J. Harrison, short yardage, went over the top, and then Kamal Peterson layered in the back of the end zone right to the back corner to finish off the drive. But interesting that they were attacking the middle of that defense on the last series.
So the Eskimos will start at their own 15-yard line. Ray with protection. Kamal Peterson the catch in front of Eddie Davis, and a first down up at the 30. The two players who combined for the touchdown. And now Ricky Ray closing in on Tracy Ham on the all-time Eskimo TD list. Not to mention Warren Moon.
Yeah, you don't really, when you think of Warren Moon, now Warren Moon didn't play a whole bunch of time, a lot of years with the Edmonton Eskimos, so I guess Ricky Ray's sort of in that same category. But I don't get the feeling when you think of Ricky Ray that he's played all that long to have some of these numbers, but he's played well.
Penalty marker down, 3-minute warning upcoming, and a deep pass. Brock Ralph lays out and couldn't survive contact. Looked like he had it. He had a big one early last week, a 46-yarder to key an opening drive touchdown. Let's find out what the flag is all about. It's an offside, Saskatchewan, so the catch would have stood if he could have brought it in.
Offside. Saskatchewan number 51. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Marcus Adams called in the offside. They give the 3-minute warning to the benches here at Commonwealth. And tune in to TSN tomorrow night. Wendy's Friday Night Football. Henry Burris and the Stamps are in Vancouver to take on Jarius Jackson and the Lions. Live coverage begins at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. Available on TSN HD. A couple of 4 and 3 teams, and we wanted to show you that it's towel night here in Edmonton,
At least in the hot tub.
1st and 5. A.J. Harris has had a good first half, and he has a first down run. Keith Shulligan, the newcomer in the Saskatchewan defense, with a tackle as we join Ray Morrison.
Prior to the game, I had a chance to talk with offensive coach Rick Warman of the Edmonton Eskimos. He said, you know, the Riders, this top-ranked defense, they're athletic. They give multiple twists up front. So what they want to do is get a receiver to a point where the linebackers generally are. It worked on the first drive. Kamal Peterson was found on one of those plays. And then on the last touchdown drive for the Eskimos, Kelly Campbell was that receiver. So the Eskimos are proving, a team that's been known to throw for 300-plus yards, that they can beat this defense another way here, guys.
Well, it was a slow start, but they've got the rust off, and they have now scored 14 unanswered points after the Roughriders opened with a 10-0 lead. Ray mentioned the 300 yards 4 times. Ricky Ray has passed for 300 this season, twice over 400. Surprised to see he's only had 5 400-yard games in his career, and 2 have come this season. Just short of the first down, so 2nd and inches. And Ray, a little hesitation there, and then will plunge for what should be a first down.
I just think that he is, after his off season of rehab and getting his body back in shape, his arm back in shape, Ricky Ray came in with tremendous confidence. His entire team is helping him, both special teams and defense. And you know, the other thing that should be pointed out is a newcomer to this staff is receiver coach Mike Kelly, and Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans may remember Mike Kelly. He's been in the CFL before, 30 years of experience coaching. 92 to 96 he was in Winnipeg. He's helping with the offense too.
1st and 10. Again, Ray with time, and Stamps underneath, and he has room to rumble. Fred Stamps and James Johnson. What a good, solid, sure open field tackle, but Stamps all the way to the Saskatchewan 45.
If you give a quarterback this much time and you have crossing routes, the Stamps comes all the way across the field. There comes Stamps. You see him flash in front of you. If you give him that much time, he will get outside of all the linebackers. They just can't widen that far. Again, another adjustment by this offensive coaching staff. Mike Kelly has been a very important, quiet contributor to the offense. Rick Warman is, of course, the coordinator, and Danny Machocha. The 3 of them working on this offense, and, of course, Ricky Ray controlling it.
24 yards for Stamps, a first down, pressure underneath, Stamps again, and a straight arm on Anton McKenzie, but McKenzie makes the tackle and limits the gain at the 38.
So what has been the adjustment from Mike Kelly, Rick Warman, Danny Machocha? The adjustment is to try and get the ball out of Ricky Ray's hands quickly on crossing routes. Quick crossers underneath. Fred Stamps, look at him, just come right down. He's about 4 yards across the line of scrimmage, but he's coming all the way across the field. Ray's just giving up some yards and dropping the ball off. They've also involved A.J. Harris to take some of the pressure off them.
So 2nd and 3, and the Eskimos calling a timeout. Ricky Ray wants to confer on this play with 1:13 left in the opening half. And when it's done, we'll head back and check in with the guys on the panel. Rhoda at the half, as those guys don't get a bye. Going every week. I was interested to hear Schultz. He sounded like Ricky Williams talking about meditation.
That's on his mind half the time. That's a show. That's an entire show.
And we'll find out more of what's on Schultz's mind at the half. And just, I think, what we expected after a bit of a sluggish start, which might be understandable after a couple of weeks off. Ready to go back to work. 2nd and 3. Scott Gordon on the safety blitz, picked up, and Ray downfield, and a pass interference flag will come out on Lance Frazier as A.J. Harris was open.
Boy, A.J. Harris did such a good job of faking Lance Frazier into thinking the ball was about to arrive. Harris is the far receiver out here, the back, who is just going to end up going straight down the sideline, and that back is going to play like receiver out there. Watch him go straight down the sideline. Now Lance Frazier's in trouble. He knows he has to try and make up yards, so Harris is going to say, I got the ball, here it comes, puts his hands up, makes Frazier take that penalty. That's a drawn penalty by A.J. Harris.
And it's a 30-yard penalty, giving the Eskimos a 1st and goal at the Saskatchewan 7. Pressure, Gray got rid of it quickly, but too quickly. Incomplete, intended for Matt Bertram, who slipped out of his fullback spot and set up as a tight end.
Sean Lucas came off the edge, and you know, Ricky Ray knows that there'll be one free here. He's going to come from this side of your, the left side of your screen right there. You'll see the pressure from Lucas, number 31. He knows that Ray knows that Lucas is free, but he was there so quickly, he just couldn't get that ball out in front of the intended target.
One of the many players on that Saskatchewan defense that has graded out so well this year. All 3 of the linebackers have been outstanding. McKenzie, Lloyd, and Lucas. 2nd and goal from the 7. Ray has time, couldn't find anybody, and has to take off, and he'll lunge to the 2. And Danny Machocha has a decision with 58 seconds left.
Yes, he does, and I looked like initially he was going to send Noel Prefontaine out. Now, Noel Prefontaine gave me a little stat before the game and asked me not to bring up the stat until after he attempts his field goal.
Okay.
It's like one of those cliffhangers, like, you know, CSI Miami or something.
He doesn't think we're responsible for all the field goal misses.
Well, I talked to him about that, and he said, yeah, it's funny how that happens. He says kind of like that when a pitcher is working a perfect game and someone has to mention it, and that's when someone gets a hit. But I'll mention the stat that Noel Prefontaine gave me, but I have to wait till this attempt.
Okay. Prefontaine 75%. That longest at 54 was against Saskatchewan, but we've got a 9-yard chip shot upcoming. And he makes no mistake. 17 unanswered Eskimo points, a 7-point lead. Ten plays, 93 yards, a 9-yard field goal, and you've kept us in suspense, and we're going to wait, I guess, one more play because the Roughriders take the ball on the 35 with 37 seconds to work with.
Okay.
That pass skipped in front of Corey Grant, incomplete.
Okay, let's go back to Noel Prefontaine. Now, his stat was this. The Edmonton Eskimos have lost 3 games. In all 3 losses, just before halftime, he has missed a field goal.
Oh.
In all 3 of those losses, just before the half, he missed a field goal. He said, I said, oh, I got to use this stat. And he goes, well, if I get the same opportunity, don't say it until after I attempt the field goal because you guys have a habit of jinxing kickers.
Okay.
I said, no problem, buddy. I'll wait till you kick it. So there you go. He made his field goal.
He's a 9-yarder. We couldn't have done anything with that. Crandall is dropped for a loss. Dario Romero again in on the stop. as he wants to have a word with Jeremy O'Day, who cleared him out of there as he was celebrating the sack. So they're heating up in the trenches.
Yeah, and this is interesting because Saskatchewan has to kick the football away. There's Romero right there. See what happens on this play.
4th sack of the year for Romero. Pretty good bull rush there. He just took the whole line back with him. So Borum to kick.
He'll let this run down.
Yeah. Clock run down, but Tristan Jackson awaiting.
And he alone, 45. Sorry, Chris, he alone could get field goal position.
So they run it right down. And then
Timekeeper, please reset the clock to 29 seconds. 29.
We're going to reset the clock back to 29 seconds.
See if they have to reset the play clock.
Yes, they did. So now they go against each other. Should be about 6-7 seconds, depending on what Tristan Jackson can do with the football here.
Eskimos may not have time for a play to get into field goal range. 10 seconds on the clock as Borum is hit, flagged down, and the Eskimos are going to give Saskatchewan the ball back as Lucas wraps up Tristan Jackson at the 52. No time on the clock. But Jamie Borum was contacted.
I wasn't sure who made contact from the Edmonton Eskimos, but they didn't slow down or try and avoid Jamie Borum.
The kicker, Edmonton number 22, 15-yard penalty.
That's Chris Chinsky.
There's Chinsky.
The Eskimo rookie.
Borum's fortunate that he isn't injured on this. It's a good thing that his other leg was in the air and not planted in the ground, because Chinsky came across and took that left leg out. That's his plant leg. He was slow to get up.
Saskatchewan is elected to apply the penalty on the opening kickoff in the second half. Corners open.
And Noel Thorpe telling the rookie that that mistake shouldn't be made again.
And he's made two.
So the penalty will tack on to the start of the second half. We're through 30 minutes. 17-10 Eskimos.
Live at the half is brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people.
17-10 Edmonton at the half. Dave, Jock, Matt, and Chris, you wanted to make a point. You want to make a point about the little argument we saw between the special teams coach, and so go ahead.
I was making the point internally. I didn't think you were going to bring this on TV.
Let's do it.
I was just saying that I think if there's a time to go after the punter, it's right there at the end of the half.
15 yards, Jock. 15 yards.
No risk, no reward. Take a shot. That's the time to do it.
15 fewer yards, Marcus Randall. Look, here it is right here. And he's giving it to him. Hello, 15 yards.
That's not the time to give it to him. If there's ever a time to go after a punter, at the end of a half, take a shot. If he blocks it, he is a hero.
I agree, Jack. You're on the money with that one.
Well, okay. Well, we'll see what Crandall does with the extra 15 yards that he's going to get. Schultze,
yes.
We talked in the pregame show about bye weeks, how they affect players, and whether it affects their ability to be sharp. Ricky Ray comes back to take the lead, but was he sharp to start the game?
No, not at the beginning. #1 pass offense led by Ray against the #1 pass defense with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Early, it was the pass defense that was making all the plays, doing it in both ways in terms of pass rush and coverage. Watch Shante Williams here. This kid is 6'6", number 93 over the top, 260 pounds. He's got a great future. Now watch Lance Frazier here. He plays the football very well in the air. Interception. All of a sudden, at this point of the game, relatively early through the first quarter into the second quarter, that pass defense was winning it, but after a while, Ray just figures it out. He has diagnostic ability to figure out what is wrong, what is right, and do something about it. Diagnostic.
You know, he started getting some protection. I think that was the biggest thing that happened for him, Chris. But he also started developing a rapport with Peterson, which is really important for him. You need to have a go-to guy in go-to situations. It's so critical for a quarterback to know you can count on somebody when it really matters. And down by the goal line is just such an example. And here we're going to see, he's up against Eddie Davis right here. He does a great job, give him a little move, and comes across on the ladder. And then, Matty, I love what he does in the pocket in order to give himself some time.
Yeah, a lot of quarterbacks come out too flat and get themselves in trouble right away. What Ricky does, he gains depth, buys himself some time, enough for Peterson to come into the clear.
Yeah, lots of guys will go out here flat, as you said, Matty, and he gets some nice time because he has to wait for Peterson. He has no one else. He wants to go to Harris in the flat. He's got nowhere else to go to. Luckily, Peterson makes a great move and gets open. Now, here you're going to see a little later, he's got one-on-one coverage. How does he know that? Because Bertrand, his fullback, is out. McKenzie's following him. Right now, he knows he's got man-to-man, and again, he's got Peterson, who is to the wide side, right on the ladder. If you're going to have a ladder, Matty, is that not the pass pattern that you're going to go to every time in man-to-man coverage? It's the toughest thing to cover. Eddie Davis on both of those, one of the best cover guys in the league, couldn't stay with him.
Yeah, good offensive philosophy, clear an area, run your man into that area, and that's what they've done a nice job. You have to establish a line of scrimmage with A.J. Harris. They've been able to do that early on in this football game. He's starting to find his legs and his physical play, and when you're able to establish a line of scrimmage and A.J. in the offense like that, you're going to get plays like that because they're going to have to respect the run.
And we know what you think about A.J., right?
Yes, I love the kid. Yeah. Love the kid. He flat out can fly.
You know, his brother was running in the Olympics.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
His brother didn't make it out of the heat in the men's 200-meter, but that really wouldn't have mattered anyway, right? everybody was running for second place there anyhow. It's 17-10, Edmonton over Saskatchewan.
Weston Dressler, a 35-yard touchdown over the middle. What a catch. Weston Dressler brought it down. A.J. Harris, touchdown. To the end zone, touchdown. Kamal Peterson.
Here are the halftime numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons Always Fresh, Matt.
Dave, follow the stretchy arrow. Hey, beginning of the ball game, you're thinking a lot of West Case, but no, the Edmonton defense came to play. Sask jumped out to an early lead, and then Edmonton 17 unanswered points because Ricky Ray started getting the air game going.
And Ricky Ray creeping up on Warren Moon for all-time touchdown passes in franchise history for the Eskimos, just 4 behind him. Darren Detition used to be the king of Edmonton. I don't know if you know that, but
king.
You were.
No, more like the clown.
Okay, well, either way.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what. I was there for 7 years, and it was great. Whenever Saskatchewan and Edmonton would play in Commonwealth Stadium, all the Rider fans would come out, the Esky fans. It is an event, and we still have an entire half to go, gentlemen. A lot of football to be played at Commonwealth. Let us bring you up to date on the Toronto Blue Jays, continuing their series of the New York Yankees. You know, the Yankees have made the postseason for 13 straight years. It's remarkable. Not this year. Blue Jays put the wood to them tonight. Matt Stairs, bases loaded, he'd empty him. That would make it 10-0. In the 5th, 2 on for Marco Scutero. He hits his 5th. That'll make it 13-0. As for Doc Halladay, more than good enough tonight. Struck out 9 over 7 innings. He grabbed his 15th victory of the season. And some awfully sad news from the NFL. Players Association Executive Director Gene Upshaw has died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 63. He was the head of the Players Union for 25 years and played 15 years before that with the Raiders. The next edition of SportsCenter will come your way following the Riders' rousing come-from-behind victory tonight. Gentlemen, we look forward to it.
TSN is the exclusive broadcaster of the Canadian Football League and proud home of the 2008 Grey Cup game. Welcome back to Commonwealth. Saskatchewan scored the first 10, 17 unanswered for Edmonton. And that's the score as we head to the third quarter. But first, Ray. TSN is the exclusive broadcaster of the Canadian Football League and proud home of the 2008 Grey Cup game. Welcome back to Commonwealth. Saskatchewan scored the first 10, 17 unanswered for Edmonton. And that's the score as we head to the third quarter. But first, Ray Morrison with Saskatchewan coach Ken Miller.
Coach, your defense was on heels a little bit. Their offense really kind of came through and did a nice job in their scouting report in that first half. It was pretty evident.
Well, uncharacteristically, we didn't play with very much discipline in that second quarter. We jumped offside several times to keep their drives alive, and then we didn't do our assignments. If we play our assignments, we'll play much better defensively. If we catch the ball on offense, we'll have an opportunity as well.
What was the message in the room? Exactly those things, or what else did you suggest here for the final 30 minutes? What has to happen?
Well, those things, and to play with great enthusiasm and effort. Those are the things we have to do.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Ken Miller was a little concerned about the lack of energy in the first half last week, their last game against Calgary. Let's see how they respond in the second half here and they should get good field position to start. Remember that penalty at the end of the first half has been tacked on to the opening kickoff of his second half. Weston Dressler upended as he got to the 45. And we're watching the Saskatchewan sidelines to see who would come out for the second half, only because Stephen Giles looked like he was warming up to be ready, but it is indeed Marcus Crandall.
Yeah, I didn't think Marcus Crandall played all that bad. His numbers would have been a lot better had he had a couple drops caught. 116 yards passing for Crandall, 127. A lot of those in the second quarter for Ricky Ray. He had some problems in the first quarter being able to plant his feet again. Pressure from the Saskatchewan defense, but he started getting things going in the second. You see the 3 drop passes.
Thought one of the turning points of the first half, the Riders got within the 31. They looked like they were inside the 20. A penalty brought them back. They came away with nothing, and then Edmonton marched down the field for a touchdown. Dressler with a catch. No. They're ruling incomplete as the pass was behind Dressler, who took it off his hip and apparently off the ground as well.
And he's not arguing, so he didn't turn around and look at the coaching staff. A lot of times players here will turn around right away and they'll look at their coach and they'll say, no, go ahead and challenge that because I caught it. But it looked like the ball, good side of the ball, hit the ground there.
Dressler with the biggest play of the first half for Saskatchewan. 35-yard touchdown catch. 2nd and 10. 6 receivers out, including Cates. Flag down. Cates unable to make the catch. Being tracked over on the far side by the safety, Sadiq Shabazz.
This is going to go against Saskatchewan. It'll be a holding call that'll be declined by the Edmonton Eskimos.
Holding. Saskatchewan number 52. That penalty is declined.
Wayne
3rd down.
Smith, the right tackle, or left tackle.
A bit of a takedown up on the left side there by Smith.
Form the high punt, dropping down at the 20 in the arms of Tristan Jackson, who was slowed up initially by Renald Williams and brought down. Not much on that return. Ricky Ray back to work after a very sharp second quarter.
Second quarter, he got things going with the crossing routes. He got A.J. Harris going, running the football, throwing him the ball out of the backfield. Let's see what he does in this third quarter. You heard Darren Detition at that sports break,
yes,
Porcupine Plain, saying that when the Saskatchewan Roughriders make their big comeback, very good possibility. Saskatchewan was down 2 weeks ago to Calgary 30-4 after 3 quarters and made that a game. 21 fourth quarter points, so they don't go away very easily.
A.J. Harris straight ahead. Anton McKenzie again in on the pileup.
Basically, the theme for the Edmonton offense is how do you counter an aggressive rushing defensive line? You attack them. You just get your shoulder pads low if you're the offensive lineman. You try to fire off against those guys and have A.J. Harris hit the hole hard. And that's what he did in the first half. That's what he did on that first play.
Because the first 3 defensive series for Saskatchewan, they were overpowering, but A.J. Harris is working on his best game as an Edmonton Eskimo now, and Ricky Ray airing it, and Kamau Peterson up in the air, unable to bring it down.
Kamau Peterson hit the line of scrimmage full speed. He really timed it up nicely, and he had a matchup, so he's going to wave to Ricky Ray as soon as he makes his break. See him put a right hand up there because he had the matchup he wanted, and that was him against Sean Lucas, the linebacker. And Lucas basically just trying to make the tackle on Kamau Peterson, somehow got the ball out of there.
Lucas separating the football from Peterson. And now Prefontaine kicking into the breeze. Good boot. Dressler, 30-yard line. And Dressler taken down after a couple on the return. And we'll be right back to Commonwealth. Well, he was the ringleader of the Eskimos dynasty. Danny Kepley set the tone on and off the field as the heart and soul of the green and gold powerhouse in the 70s and 80s. Now brings that intensity as a coach.
This is your house. Let's go. They think they got something going on here. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, okay? It's your show. It's your show. Little things. Take care of the little things. That's it. Big things to take care of themselves. Be ready for somebody. If nobody's there, then be surprised. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. If we make one, we're going to learn from it. We got 60 minutes. Send the message. Send the damn message out there. They don't belong here. Let's go.
There's a guy that sends a message every week.
You know, it's just his intensity is infectious. I mean, he gives you that look in the eye. Hall of Famer, 5-time CFL All-Star, 3 times the outstanding defensive player. He gives you that look in the eye. You go play your best. You go play as hard as you can.
We would have liked to mic them during the game, but better in the pregame. There's Wes Cates. Good run by Cates, and the linebacker coach won't like that one. As he confers with Rick Campbell on the sidelines.
You know, and it's just there's so much respect when, you know, the players know the history of this franchise and how important Dan Kepley was to the history of this franchise and to their 5 in a row. And you know, this is his 6th year coaching in Edmonton. And every year he brings that experience, but it's the intensity that he brings that I think is such a difference maker. And that's why they put him down on the sideline too, by the way. It's just to keep him close to those players. So when, you know, Baron Achea or Shannon Garrett or Shadiq Shabazz comes to the sideline, those linebackers, and they look in Kepley's eyes, they're, yes, sir, I'll be right back out there giving it everything I've got.
Baron Achea comes out on 2nd and short, and Clinton Wayne right back in the Eskimos as a recent acquisition, his 2nd tour of duty. Comes in to bulk up that defensive line. 2nd and less than a yard after that 9-yard Heats run. And the push ahead should be enough for a fresh set of downs.
You know, the way that Stephen Giles warmed up, most of the time the backup quarterback will warm up on the sideline after the half, but it was different. You know, it was different. And I'm wondering if Marcus Crandall is on a shorter leash here in this second half from Ken Miller. I mean, Giles warmed up with his helmet on. He was running around trying to really loosen up, not just throwing it back and forth with Marcus Crandall. So interesting to watch. See if Marcus Crandall can move the football team, and if he doesn't, Ken Miller makes that change.
Giles sneaks for the first down. Back to work goes Crandall. And underneath it goes Darius Bowman, flag down. Bowman cuts it upfield and then gets cut down at the 53. His first catch after being a target deep earlier on. Actually had a catch that was negated by a penalty on a hitch screen in the first half.
And there's a flag down here as well.
Bringing it back, and Ken Miller talked about penalties.
It's been so good, this Saskatchewan Roughrider team.
Forward pass interference. Saskatchewan number 6. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
That's Rob Bagg, the newcomer out of Queens. And so once again, the Roughriders are marching backwards.
You mentioned earlier, Chris, that this team ranked 2nd coming in, just 65.7 yards of penalties per game coming into this one. They were always in single digits, and they're already at 10 for 70. So over that average, and you still got a lot of football to play in the second half here.
The 1st and 20. Gates underneath, but they left with Bowman along the sidelines. Drop ball, and that's the 4th drop. As Marcus Crandall not getting a lot of support.
You know, that was way short, obviously, because of the penalties of the first down, but those are important plays because it gives you a chance. Now, Marcus Crandall's faced with, you know, 2nd and a ton. And there's only about 3 plays on that left wristband of Marcus Crandall for 2nd and this much. You're almost almost playing here to punt the football away, just get a little more field position.
6 receivers out. And a time count violation.
Wow.
Didn't get the play off in time.
This is uncharacteristic of this football team after...
Time count violation. Saskatchewan number 8. 5-yard penalty. It remains second down.
Nah, I don't just mean that penalty, but the fact that they've had a bunch more penalties. They've had some drop passes. It seems that the reason that Saskatchewan was 6-0 and then 6-1 after the loss to Calgary, but the reason they got off to that great start was that when players filled in, they made the plays, when they made those catches, when they were asked to, when it was their turn to step up, everyone made the difference, and it was a complete team effort. Now all of a sudden we're seeing that they are human.
What does Paul LaPolice have on 2nd and 25? Draw play. Wes Cates up over the 40-yard line and punished and drilled back. And I'm not sure if that was the only play at 2nd and 25, but Dave Moyer, our stats man, was calling for a draw or screen, and he got it.
Well, and that's a play to punt the ball. It really is. I mean, if you run that play and completely surprise the defense, which you shouldn't, because remember, we just showed you Dan Kepley down there, and there's Bag getting his talking to on the sideline, but you're not going to fool the defense that often, and that's get a little field position, punt the football.
Jackson awaits about the 25, pressure, and again contact on the kicker. Kristen Jackson on the return, and another flag up near midfield. This time it was Brandon Guillory who ran into Jamie Borum. Penalties to each team, and we'll sort them out when we come back. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Nissan's Make the Call. Play on cfl.nissan.ca for your chance to win a trip to the Grey Cup game. And we are still deliberating over the penalties. And as Ken Miller asking why he doesn't get an automatic first down off the contacting the kicker, there was also an illegal block by the Eskimos.
Well, it was 3rd and how many?
3rd and 13.
Contacting the kicker. Edmonton number 42. That penalty is declined. On the return, holding number 35 Edmonton. First down.
Contacting is not roughing, so it's not roughing the kicker's automatic first down. Contacting is not. Brandon Guillory, it gets the roughing or the contact from the kicker. I'm a little surprised that wasn't called roughing the kicker though, because Borum had his both legs still up in the air.
Second time he's been hit. That pass for A.J. Harris broken up on a good defensive play by the newcomer, Shante Williams, in 6'6". That big wingspan breaking up a pass.
Go back to that pump one more time. Brandon Guillory right here, and he comes right down the middle. And I'm surprised that's not a roughing the kicker, because Jamie Borum has his leg in the air, his kicking leg in the air, and gets hit, and the legs come right out from underneath him. I'm surprised that was scaled down to contacting.
2nd and 10 from the Edmonton 45. Wade in the pocket, underneath Kamal Peterson. And Peterson, great yak yardage to get the first down when it looked like he'd be stopped for 7. He comes up with 10, 10 and a half.
Number 8 right there, Kamal Peterson. I mentioned earlier on, when Jason Tucker was injured, this guy has been the guy who has really stepped up. Kamal Peterson came into this game with 29 catches. That led his team. He didn't lead in yards, but he did lead in catches. But it's the leadership that he's brought to the locker room and to the huddle that's been a difference maker.
Harris straight ahead, and Harris close to another first down. Sean Lucas brought him down.
You know, and it started in that game when they got back to Commonwealth Stadium and Kamal Peterson took that big hit. But what a season he's put together. I mean, he started out well anyway, even when Tucker was here. But when Tucker was hurt in Hamilton, they came back to Commonwealth and Jason Tucker got back here. Kamal Peterson took the big hit over the middle and just really solidified himself as a starter. And by the way, I also know that Jason Tucker is watching from his home down in Texas. And a special hello to a favorite player of ours and a speedy recovery. We all hope that Jason Tucker is recovering fine at home. And, you know, the prognosis is that he'll be fine, that he'll be able to, you know, play golf and have full range of motion in the neck, and he'll be okay.
And we second that. First down, the Eskimos actually sent him home with a new set of golf clubs. Apparently they said they thought he needed them.
Yeah. Well, he can run the ranch. He's got a few hundred head of cattle down there, so I know he'll be following the team closely, and the team will keep in touch with him. And they really rallied after the injury to Tucker.
You know, everybody came into this game focused on Wes Cates for Saskatchewan, Ricky Ray for the Eskimos, but A.J. Harris is writing a pretty good script of his own now, approaching 100 yards rushing. He has 7 carries for 84, and he's caught 4 for 30 yards. So 114 from scrimmage for the overlooked running back of the game. Ray was hit as he got rid of the ball, but Andrew Nowacki has the catch. And Nowacki breaks a tackle before he's tossed out. Ricky Ray, though, hit by Anton McKenzie as he released the football.
I'm going to add a little chapter to the story you're writing on A.J. Harris, because watch this, Chris. There's A.J. Harris there. This play never has a chance if A.J. Harris doesn't do what he does. He's going to step up, recognize the blitz from the safety, Scott Gordon, step right in there and take him. He doesn't take that blitz down Main Street. Ray doesn't have a chance to throw the ball to the outside. So another big block. A.J. Harris now adds to that story.
Guys mentioning at the half, his brother representing Guyana in the 200 meters at the Olympics in Beijing. 17 for Nowacki, more time for Ray, and he'll hook up again over the middle to Kamal Peterson, who entered the game 10th in CFL receiving.
Boy, it seems like a lifetime ago that we were talking about how the struggles of Kamal Peterson in Hamilton and how he just couldn't seem to get his game together after a tryout in the National Football League, and it just didn't look very good for him. I mean, he was struggling. He was dropping easy passes that he should have got. I know he'd hate to have me even bring that up, but it seems like such a lifetime ago. I mean, he's just been so good this year.
Different guy. Last couple of years.
Yeah.
2nd and 5. Ray has a lot of time again. Fred Stamps and a big collision over the middle. Stamps, I think Sean Lucas, and the official who got mowed down, but he is back up. And that's the umpire, Jim Koshman.
Boy, you know, the umpire is in that danger zone. The umpire is in the crossing route area. Players flying around in there. Lucas is trying to find his man, and he gets in chase on Fred Stamps there. He doesn't even see him. He doesn't see him at all. And that is a complete accident by Sean Lucas coming across as Stamps is on the other side. The umpires this year have actually taken a couple of steps back from previous years. They've moved back a few yards so that they can see better, but also to stay out of harm's way a little bit, and it still doesn't help all the time. They still can get hit like that, but Jim Koshman gets right back up.
Yeah, big exhale, and he's going to be fine. I think Stamps wanted a pass interference call against Koshman. And here's Prefontaine, the left footer, 42 yards out after a 9-yarder in the opening half, and money for Prefontaine again with 6:01 left in the 3rd quarter. But for every sack in tonight's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going. It's a terrific campaign. And it is Tackle Hunger Night here at Commonwealth Stadium. Last year, fans here brought in 56,000 pounds of food to bolster the Edmonton Food Bank. Also made cash donations and get a chance to get your picture with the Grey Cup here in Edmonton tonight. One sack for each team. Scott Schultz and Dario Romero have supplied those. First time tonight, we see Marcus Crandall scampering for a first down up at the 50-yard line. And I know Ken Miller told us we're going to need that kind of play every once in a while sprinkled in from Marcus Crandall.
It also puts the defensive backs in a bind now when Marcus Crandall runs this play action fake there to Cates. Now he's got the corner. See, Bowman's open. Now, does Jordan Younger go and tackle Crandall or stay with Bowman? He ends up staying on his receiver, but next time he may not. And it'll keep that secondary guessing.
14-yard run, which is his longest of the year. Has had just 23 yards rushing since the hamstring injury in BC. First down, and Cates stacked up at the line, dropped back, getting on a Tolo. Joe Anawai, the newcomer at defensive tackle, Augie Baranachea. Well, they all limit the damage. In fact, a loss on the play of a couple.
It's a lot of syllables.
Yeah.
Baranachea, Anawai.
They're going to need a bye week.
But you know what they're doing defensively? Edmonton is playing very disciplined up front. They're canceling gaps and making it tougher on West Cape.
Boy, not many would have expected the Eskimos to lead in the rush category here tonight. Marcus Crandall looking deep and nobody there. Closest man to it was Jonte Buell. Rob Bagg and Wes Dressler were in the neighborhood. And I'm not sure if somebody ran the wrong route or not.
Look at the Edmonton Eskimos this time. 7 up on the line of scrimmage. Crandall's thinking, with 7 up there, I've got to get rid of it. I've got a deep route. Maybe I can just throw it up. He tries to run away from pressure. That doesn't help him. And the Edmonton Eskimos load up the front, that line of scrimmage, and force a quick throw from Crandall.
Well, Jamie Borum's got a few bumps and bruises tonight. Has been contacted twice. This time the Eskimos call off the dogs. No real rush. Jackson from his 20. Has the 30-35. And brought down there by Yannick Carter after a 16-yard return. Eskimos start at their 38-yard line. A.J. Harris, the ball carrier again. More production on first down for Harris. 7 to the 45. Eskimos had one 100-yard rushing game last year. They have had only 5 in the last 4 years. Have not had one this season. But A.J. Harris is sitting on 91 rushing yards tonight.
Chris, in the game against BC 2 weeks ago, they were 83% pass, 17% run. On the season, it's about 70-30, and that's one of the things Danny Machocha wanted to change.
2nd and 3. Harris again. And A.J. Harris has the first down close to the 50. It's been a big night for number 34.
It started out of the air, off through the air with A.J. Harris, where he caught a couple, and then a bit of a mix-up on a play really got him going, and that was it here. This was the 36-yarder touchdown. It was really a broken play from Ricky Ray to A.J. Harris as they finally got that handoff taken care of, and he took care of the rest. And Maurice Lloyd, I believe, is down on the field right now for Saskatchewan.
So an injured player will step out for a moment, be right back. 20-10, Edmonton with the lead. Well, the royal family of rock returns. Glenn Suter with a new season of family values, Simmons style. Gene Simmons Family Jewels premieres this Sunday, 7 Eastern on Much More Music. And you know if Gene Simmons was at Commonwealth Stadium tonight, yeah, he'd be in that hot tub.
He'd be right there.
Mo Lloyd on his way to the sidelines. Looks like he'll be all right. A.J. Harris now up to 95 yards. It's been 25 games since the Eskimos had a 100-yard rusher. Tyler Ebel in game 1 of the 2007 season. Here's the draw, and Harris upended at the 54-yard line. Tripped up by Mike McCullough, who has moved into that middle linebacker spot for Mo Lloyd, and Harris thought he had a lot more there.
And McCullough does a nice job. You know, Anton McKenzie now has lost his right-hand man in Maurice Lloyd. These two are real tight. They watch film together on their own. They, you know, take turns going to each other's houses just to watch film after practice, to watch film in the evenings. And now he's going to work with Mike McCullough until Maurice Lloyd can get back in there.
2nd and 5. Over the middle, Peterson hit immediately, but hangs on to the football. Sean Lucas unable to dislodge the ball that time as he closed quickly.
Mal Peterson must have been wondering when this ball was going to arrive. When you get a window like that in zone, you see him right in front of Ricky Ray. When you get that window, you know it's not going to be there for long, and Sean Lucas closed in a hurry.
You were talking about Kamal Peterson, and when Danny Machocha signed him, he said, you don't have to come here and be the man. But now that Jason Tucker's injured, and the way he has rejuvenated his career, he just might be the man here. At least the possession man in Edmonton. And there's A.J. Harris over 100, over the 35, and down to the 33. And Eskimo fans cheering A.J. Harris. They haven't seen this kind of run production in quite some time.
And this is the Saskatchewan defense ranked number 2 against the rush, coming in at 97 yards per game before tonight. And A.J. Harris went right after him, and Danny Machocha, Mike Kelly, Rick Warman, they weren't worried about that run defense.
89 was his previous high against the Argos. Working on a big night. In the backfield, a catch for Matt Bertram, and he's punished as he's dropped at the 28.
That was the adjustment. The first quarter, Ricky Ray was in the shotgun. He'd take his 2 or 3 step drop and look for intermediate routes, 10 to 15 yard routes. That wasn't happening because the Saskatchewan defense was getting in his face. They changed it up, went to the running game, and A.J. Harris, he's now over 100 with a quarter to play, and that quicker passing game, and it has really taken the wind out of the sails of the Saskatchewan rush defense. They just can't get home.
2nd and 5 on what should be the final play of this 3rd quarter, and we're going to get a timeout as Ricky Ray wants to confer with the sidelines.
Ricky Ray looks a little disappointed there. He didn't want to waste the timeout, I'm sure, but at the same time, he had the wrong play for the formation he saw defensively.
Gives us a chance to remind you, more games, more sports, more coverage, more TSN. TSN 2 launches August 29th. For information, contact your local television provider. Well, you don't want to burn that timeout if you don't have to, but in the first game of the year in Saskatchewan, the Eskimos went 0 for 3 in the red zone, settled for field goals, and ended up losing it as the game got away from them in the 4th quarter. And the Eskimos want to cash every opportunity. They are knocking on the door of the red zone here. 2nd and 5 at the Saskatchewan 28. And it's dumped off over the middle, incomplete. Matt Bertrand should have had that one. He would have had a first down. Final play, 3rd quarter, a 10-point Eskimo lead. Time to check our Tim Hortons 3rd quarter stats.
Yeah, when you look at the first downs for Saskatchewan, just 9, that's going to start to wear on the Saskatchewan defense.
Edmonton had 16 yards rushing in their last game, 136. Danny Machocha mentioned they were striving for better balance. They're getting it tonight.
Well, it also takes away the momentum in that first quarter with Saskatchewan rushing so aggressively. Now Edmonton takes the ball, hands it to their running back, and he just hits the line, so they're going against the momentum. and attacking it. The way A.J. Harris started the game, attacking the line of scrimmage so hard, he really set the tone to establish that running game. He showed no fear.
Maybe the most stunning stat, the Roughriders without a passing yard in the third quarter. And Prefontaine to open the fourth quarter with a 35-yard attempt. And he misses. Prefontaine with a miss. It goes for a single point. And it is 21-10 for the Eskimos. The closed captioning of the Canadian Football League on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. When you're in the zone, time almost stands still. Getting into the zone begins with Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport.
By the way, that looks like, you know, a slap shot of my senior men's hockey team. That's a very similar form for the fourth line checker.
Trying to get that fourth liner into the zone. Well, Marcus Crandall needs to get into the zone. A couple of the bullet points from yesterday from the head coach. We need him to be more of a field general. We need more big plays. And they didn't have much of either in the third quarter. And that pass nearly picked off the numbers of Brandon Guillory.
He can't believe it. I think it surprised him. He got it right in the chest. Guillory is just, it's play action, and that's the Riders have been going obviously with a lot of that with Cates to try and freeze the D-line, but look at this. Brandon Guillory was surprised, and so surprised that he couldn't hang on.
Great to see him playing after the spinal cord injury last year, the preseason in Calgary, and everybody thought his football career was over. 2nd and 10, Crandall's misfired on his last 6. Has time. That one he throws into the ground, incomplete.
You know, I'm going to go back to it again. At halftime, Stephen Giles warmed up different than most backups at halftime. And you know, you mentioned in that third quarter, and he's getting the ball again.
Yep.
He's starting to warm up again. I'm not surprised here, only because no passing yards for Saskatchewan in the third, and that throw there, that was all Crandall. He had a throwing lane, and he had an open receiver, and he one-hopped it.
Hasn't had a lot of support tonight, but not a good series for Marcus Crandall. Giles looks like he's ready to come in. By the way, Darian Durant threw and threw hard this week. Hard enough that the ribs started to hurt again, but they think he could be ready as early as Labor Day. One hopper, Jackson attacks it, draws the flag, gets to midfield, and will step out here early in the fourth quarter. The CFL on TSN, brought to you in part by Future Shop. From MP3 players to laptops, get everything you need this back to school at Future Shop. Minute 19 into the fourth quarter. Eskimos with an 11-point lead and the ball at midfield. Roughriders led by 10, 21 straight points. But remember the last Roughrider game when they had 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns. A.J. Harris heads north again, rumbling down to the 32.
Started with that great attack at the line of scrimmage in the second quarter, and he's continuing into this fourth quarter because he hits the ball, he hits the line so hard that he just needs a little crack, a little opening, and there it is. A nice move as he slides back against the flow on Maurice Lloyd, but his aggression towards the line of scrimmage is paying off here.
Started the night 11th in league rushing, but he's chewed it up. And now a little end around, Kevin Campbell, and he is upended.
You know, and you wonder why the Saskatchewan Roughriders start with 6 wins and then lose their first game. So what was the difference? Well, when you look offensively, their passing yards after 6 games on average, the same as 2 weeks ago. Their passing yards against, allowed, the same, in fact, better than 2 weeks ago. And then when you look at the rush yards, that's been the difference. Their rushing yards way down offensively, and they were giving up more yards 2 weeks ago against Calgary. The same is sort of evolving here tonight.
well documented the injuries, but I'm not sure you can lay those areas on injuries. Pass incomplete. Brock Ralph thought he had it. And it brings up 3rd down.
Because when you look, you know, that's the difference. I think the Saskatchewan football team, I mean, rushing on offense against Calgary, they had 31 yards, and Cates is down again here in this game, and 203 against on their defense. That was uncharacteristic 2 weeks ago. Now Cates in this game has 47 yards rushing, and Harris 140, so that same trend has continued.
Prefontaine back in from 33 yards out after the miss, and that one is through, and it's 24-10 to convert a touchdown lead. Another big day for Canada at the Olympics. Eric Lama's gold, Emily Payman's a silver, and live coverage of Beijing 2008 continues tomorrow on TSN, 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific. It's available on TSN HD, and it's hard to believe that 30 years ago this month, this was the site of the Commonwealth Games and the unveiling of this beautiful facility that has hosted so many terrific events, including the 2001 World Track and Field Championships, Universiade, Women's World Cup, the Heritage Classic. And there is the highest attendance in the Canadian Football League this year, and the Eskimos told us we'll do better than that game with the other league in Toronto last week, and we won't give away 17,000 tickets.
I think it was closer to 22,000, but I got your point.
Stephen Giles in the game, and he throws a strike to Henri Childs. His first catch of the game. We were told we'd see him at the slot back position be an active contributor tonight.
Well, it has been an amazing night because 48,000. Look at the attendance on average for Eskimo games, just shy of 40,000.
Approaching 10 million.
You know, it's his CFL. It's their CFL. It's our CFL.
It's our league.
It's our league.
And it's Stephen Giles' game to come back for the Roughriders as he comes in relief of Marcus Crandall. Pressured, Giles gets it away. Big collision there, and the ball jolted loose from the hands of Adarius Bowman. And Jordan Younger, little atonement for the Bowman touchdown in week 1.
And they went after him early, you know, and Jordan Younger hung in there and worked his hamstring. Worked his hamstring out early in that first quarter. He got some more confidence, and he closes in a hurry here. A little bang out there from Bowman where he bangs to the inside and bangs right back out. Quick close by Jordan Younger. Looks like that hamstring is back.
Two-time All-CFLer on the corner, back in the Eskimo lineup. Draw on 2nd and 10, and Wes Cates gets to midfield, but it's only 4. And once again, the Roughriders, for the 6th consecutive series, will have to punt the football away.
But they did get a little something. It looked like they had a little more bounce in their step there with Stephen Giles coming out. They completed a pass. They didn't have a completed pass in the 3rd quarter. So, you know, that's the positive from Saskatchewan offensively. Now they still have to punt the football away, but look, they got a little something, a little more energy there.
Now they try and pin Edmonton.
Still Tristan Jackson, you get that feeling.
He has looked dangerous at times tonight. A lot of flags on these punts. And that one will draw a flag as it sailed out at the 28-yard line. Penalty against Jamie Borum. Game story brought to you by MGD. Nothing to hide.
I'm going to jump right to the 3rd chapter of that game story right there. That's been a big difference maker. And A.J. Harris gets 140. Plus, Cates not having a bad night, but A.J. Harris at 140 is, against this Saskatchewan defense, ranked 2nd in the league against the run. That's really opened things up for the Edmonton Eskimos. It started in the 2nd quarter.
Cates Harris on the sidelines watching. The Eskimos decline the penalty on the kick out of bounds. They like the field position at the 33. And A.J. Harris this time stuffed for 1. Shante Williams in on the tackle off the edge for Saskatchewan.
Full credit to the offensive coaching staff for the Edmonton Eskimos, because I think it's been a game of adjustments. Mike Kelly has been important, Danny Machocha and Rick Warman, and especially offensively, because in that first quarter, they really couldn't get anything going. They made the adjustments. That's what this game has been about tonight, has been about the chess match between the coaching staff.
2nd and 9. Ray with a lot of steamboats, trying to find somebody, running out of time, but escaping again. He'll reload again. Look at Ricky Ray dance, and he'll take off, and he's going to run for the first down, and he'll get it up at the 46-yard line. Who does he think he is, David Allen?
Yeah, and he just ran about 200 yards for a 10-yard gain. Basically a stunt coming from Saskatchewan, and okay, he breaks to his right. It's a 65-yard wide field. He gets to the numbers all the way back to the middle. A little move there on Anton McKenzie. I don't even know if he saw Anton McKenzie coming. Was that Kiwana Jones at the end that finally brings him down? I mean, Kiwana Jones had 3 tries at him.
Boy, that must be demoralizing for that Saskatchewan defense. First down at the 45. Straight ahead, Harris will plow for 5 more.
You know what's amazing about when a quarterback is doing this, you know what the receivers are doing? They're trying to find an open area. Fred Stamp's going down. He says, okay, Ricky Ray, this is my route. No, the ball's not there. Okay, I'm going to come in. Okay, you're going. Okay, over here. No, okay, where are you going? Okay, you're over here. Okay, I'm going to go over there. I'm just going to keep trying to find a place so you can throw me. Okay, no. Okay, wait. I mean, that's what happens. That's the scramble rules, and good on Fred Stamps for
he kept working
to try and find an open area.
Got another shaken up Saskatchewan Roughrider. That's Kiwana Jones. Yeah, that's all the Roughriders need. Let's go downstairs and check in with Ray Morrison.
Kiwana Jones down on the field right now. Earlier, Maurice Lloyd had a knee injury, and before that, earlier in the half, there was also a situation with Renard Williams. He actually had to come in when Lloyd went out on a sprained ankle, and I'm thinking about all these bumps and bruises tonight to the Riders. Even the one to Jamie Borum, who twisted his back late in the first half and had to come back in and play. The way the night has gone for the Riders, I'm under the impression that these bumps and bruises are going to hurt a lot more than if they would have come out and performed better here at Commonwealth tonight, guys.
Well, there's no question this team has persevered through an unthinkable list of injuries. I mentioned, when we talked about the running game for and against, I wasn't sure that it was impacted by the list of injuries, which includes Fantus and Flick, and the list goes on and on. But so many weapons are out of the lineup, and they can't afford many more.
And here's the good news. John Chick is getting closer. DJ Flick maybe by mid-October, maybe early October. You mentioned Darian Durant. I mean, that's the good news. There are some coming back.
2nd and 5. More time for Ray over the middle. And Kamau Peterson has another catch. Brought down by Lance Frazier. 7th catch of the night for Kamau Peterson.
Young football fans, take note here. This is football 101 for receivers. When you catch a ball over the middle that's coming right to your body, make sure you extend to get it with your hands. See how Kamau Peterson reached out and he created a window between his hands, and he looked through that window, and then the ball arrived in that window. He didn't let the ball hit his shoulder pads or his stomach, because then if you take a hit when it's hitting your stomach at the same time, that's when it pops out. Textbook from Kamau Peterson.
And look at that first down production. It says it all. First down and more production. A.J. Harris. Another first down rumble. His His coming out party as an Edmonton Eskimo tonight against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
And I know what you mean, Chris, when you talk about that. Yes, Saskatchewan has had some injuries, but you know, they had Maurice Lloyd tonight, they had Anton McKenzie tonight, they had Sean Lucas. That's their starting linebacking core. Scott Schultz, Marcus Adams in the middle. They had some run stoppers in there, and A.J. Harris has had this big night against that same group.
In the first time in 25 Edmonton games that they've had a 100-yard rusher. Just the 6th time in the last 5 years. And Harris again to the 10 as he pads his stats, chews up the clock, and the Eskimos threaten to put this one away.
That's when you want the running game to really go, because as you're trying to eat up the clock in the 4th quarter with the lead.
8 more for A.J. Harris. It'll be 2nd and 2 from the 10. The Eskimos looking for their 5th win of the year. They won only 5 all last season. Harris on 2nd down, kicks it outside, has a 1st down, finally dropped at the 4. Now the Roughriders have been stingy against the run most of the year. Jesse Lumsden had success last week, or last game, Joffrey Reynolds.
Yeah, that's
now A.J. Harris has the best night.
That's the one, though, that is the trend changer, because other than that Lumsden, they were pretty good. I mean, look at the Coburn, just 6 against Montreal. And then that 128, it looked like there was a little chink in the armor. And A.J. Harris has now blown that up.
Kitwana Jones checks back in. It's 1st and goal from the 4. Double tights. One more A.J. Harris run, and he just gets back to the line of scrimmage.
That time big Patrick Kabongo actually got tripped up and fell down in the running lane of A.J. Harris. And you know, you have to be a hurdler to get over Patrick Kabongo, and you have to be an Olympic hurdler, because even if when he's lying down, he's still about 4 feet tall.
Kabongo at 6'7", 315, 6'6", 6'7", 315, 325. It depends on what part of the season. A big man has. That offensive line is one of the improvements here in Edmonton this year. Dan Comiskey is not far away from returning, and they've done a nice job in his absence. Comiskey injured in the opening game against Saskatchewan.
And the patience that Danny Machocha has shown with Patrick Kabongo over the last 3 or 4 years has really paid off, and all of a sudden that offensive line does look very good.
Played right tackle has moved inside, 2nd and goal. And Harris tripped up as he took the handoff, and again just back to the line of scrimmage. So unable to put the final cap on a brilliant night, and the field goal unit has to come on.
Ricky Ray has again managed the game with very few mistakes. That's been something that has been characteristic of his play. He goes to A.J. Harris, which makes it a little bit easier for him. But when he's had to make that tough throw and that one play for the 1st down, remember, that's what kept this drive alive, where he ran all over the field.
Well, this to make it a 3-score game with 3:45 on the clock and the clock running. And the Eskimos running it down. And they'll take the time count and move back 5.
Time count violation. Edmonton number 7, 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
The Eskimos will be the only unbeaten team at home if this lead holds. At 4-0, they won only 3 home games last year. And the penalty declined as Saskatchewan wants the tougher angle on this field goal. And Prefontaine makes no mistake. So 27-10 now. The Eskimos with the lead. And that will make it a 3-score game. Well, TSN is your home of NASCAR tomorrow night. The track heats up at Bristol Motor Speedway for the NASCAR Nationwide Series Food City 300. Live coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. It's available on TSN HD. A prelude to our game we're looking forward to at BC Place Stadium between the Stamps and the Lions.
Yeah, how about that sign? I mean, that says it all right there. The Rider fans here in Commonwealth, because they can't get a ticket in Mosaic Stadium.
And they won't get a ticket for Labor Day.
No, that baby's been sold out since before the season, I think.
Stephen Giles back in, takes off. Out of the reach of Montez Murphy, and Giles lunging for a first down at the 46.
So what does Ken Miller do, no matter what happens the rest of the way in this game, for Labor Day? I mean, that's the next one for him. And does he go back to Marcus Crandall? You mentioned Darian Durant may be ready. He has said from day one in training camp that Marcus Crandall is his starter, but Darian Durant has won games. Stephen Giles has won in relief.
And as he said yesterday, it is all performance-based. Not Marcus Crandall's best night, and not a lot of support. And Stephen Giles, a conference here with the officials. I think one of the officials was shaken up again.
He's having a rough one.
Yeah, it's a tough night for Jim Koshman. And Ivan Goodfriend out to take a look at the right arm of Jim Koshman, who got run over by Sean Lucas and Fred Stamps earlier in this second half.
You know, A.J. Harris has been the story tonight for the Eskimos. 183 yards rushing for him. And by the way, in case you're interested, the Edmonton Eskimos record, single game record, was set by Sean Millington in 1999 at 225. And it was against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, ironically.
First down, and Wes Keats with a burst, and then he'll push the pile close to midfield. That's a pickup of 8 for Wes Keats, as the 3-minute warnings given to the benches at Commonwealth. Time now for the TSN turning point.
Let's go back to the second quarter, and Edmonton Eskimos on the doorstep. Some pressure on Ricky Ray, but he finds Kamau Peterson in the back of the end zone. That touchdown really gave the Eskimos the lead, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders haven't really shown a lot of offense since then.
The TSN turning point brought to you by the 2008 GMC Sierra Professional Grade. Roughriders led by 10, but now trail 27-10. At midfield, 2nd and 2, Saskatchewan. Keats again, and that door slammed, maybe a yard, and it's going to be 3rd down. Kenny Onatolo at the bottom of the pile. And it's going to be 3rd and almost 2 full yards.
3-down football for Ken Miller. He's not even looking at the punt team.
Roughriders had outscored their opponents 76-45 in the 4th quarter coming into this game. But nothing to show tonight. Nothing to show since the 1st quarter. 3rd and 2 to keep the game alive. Giles downfield, Tressler. Penalty marker on the play. The pass incomplete. But did Brandon Guillory rough the passer? He did, and that will give Stephen Giles and the Roughriders another set of downs.
Yeah, and Guillory went over and was talking to the bench for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and And they pointed
Major
here.
foul, roughing the passer. Edmonton number 42. 15-yard penalty, first down.
There he is right at the top of your screen. He's going to be chasing Stephen Giles. There's the push after the throw. Wasn't real violent, but didn't have to do it. He'd get the penalty for that. Because I was going to say over 2 minutes is a long way to come back when you're down 17, but not impossible in Canadian football.
No, we saw the lightning strikes in the fourth quarter against Calgary that made a game that looked like it was well out of reach. Very interesting, but need some magic now. Giles for Corey Grant. And a catch for 5. They've got to take some shots soon, don't they?
You know, they do. I mean, no question. They're 3 scores down, basically. 3 possessions down. So, you know, they want to try and get a quick stop, try and get over a minute for their second possession, but they have to take some shots to the end zone soon.
Dressler lines up in the backfield. Now goes to the wide side. Giles looks short side. And Grant the catch. And Jordan Younger's got him corralled.
And Corey Grant, you know, is again, it's a long way back, but Corey Grant, little thing, could get out of bounds quickly there, make that catch, stop the clock as quickly as he could. And that time he tried to turn back inside, and Jordan Younger kept him inside.
Almost approaching this as if they're down by 10 and not down by 3 scores. It is a first down. Giles with time. Now he loads it up into the end zone, and that pass incomplete. And Dressler well covered on the play.
Yeah, Wes Dressler there. He made about 3 or 4 different moves. Really, it looked like a basic read route, but then he broke it off again. I don't think Stephen Giles knew which direction he was going to end up breaking. Here he comes down. And it looks like it's going to be a corner, and then he goes back to the post, and then you see he couldn't make his mind up.
So 2nd and 10. From the 28, flag down. And that pass incomplete, intended for Rob Bagg, and Augie Baranachea in the neighborhood.
And now, because it has taken a while, even if Saskatchewan can punch in, I think this penalty is going against them. We'll see if Danny Machocha decides to.
Well, if this finishes the way we anticipate it will.
Offside. Saskatchewan number 29. That penalty is declined. 2nd down.
Yeah, Danny Machocha will decline it and put Saskatchewan into 3rd and 10. That means one play, they get their defense off the field. But I was going to say, even if Saskatchewan can find a way to score here, they're in that onside kick mode for sure now, well inside of 2 minutes.
Is the race for first in the West ever going to be on after tonight? Eskimos poised to move within 2. Either Calgary or BC will join them tomorrow night. 3rd and 10. Giles to keep it going, in trouble, and down he goes back at the 40-yard line. 2nd sack of the game, and Dario Romero has both of them.
Well, you know, this defensive line has been very disciplined tonight. I mean, Dario Romero has the 2 sacks. He ends up getting the cleanup right there. Looked like it was Kenny Anatolu who had a chance at him. But you know what's been good about this defensive line is their discipline against West Cates. Their gap cancellation has been outstanding.
Almost seemed like the changes they made at the back end caused a little bit of confusion in the opening series or 2, but since then they've clamped down, and the defense has been stout again tonight. A.J. Harris adding to his totals. Before that, we'll get to that in a moment. Just a reminder that the CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Rona. Proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people.
When I talk about gap cancellation, I'm just saying the defensive line, when they're assigned a certain spot on the field, they make sure they take it. And then A.J. Harris at 188. Nice to see him get one more big run.
You know, this is the sixth most productive rushing game in Edmonton Eskimo history, and he's not done yet. Second down, and no yards there as he is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. There's Shante Williams with the tackle.
And before I get a whole bunch of emails from Saskatchewan fans, that's what I was referring to, is that Sean Millington record's 225. A.J. Harris likely won't get there, but you know, he could move up the list. And when a player gets this close in a football game to getting in the record book of their team or in the league, it's nice to see them do it.
Well, he has given this Eskimo offense a dramatically different look tonight. And they will head to Calgary for the Labor Day Classic and the start of the annual home and home against the arch rivals from Southern Alberta on a high and within 2 points of the lead in the CFL West, matching their win total from all of last season. And Dressler with some speed and runs out of real estate as McCarty tracked him out at the 33-yard line. So we'll update the standings with 51 seconds to go. Put this one in the books for the Eskimos. And again, Calgary, BC tomorrow as it will tighten up even more.
We'll see how Edmonton closes that gap. Now a game away. And this is a dangerous football team. You know, you could see it starting to come together. Their offensive line has improved a ton. You talked about that, Chris. They get a running game going tonight with A.J. Harris. Their quarterback coming into the night on pace for 6,000. Their receivers stepping up in the absence of Jason Tucker. All of that adds up to a dangerous team.
Giles, quick hitter. Corey Grant will get out of bounds just inside the 40. This will be the fourth consecutive game for the Edmonton Eskimo defense in which they've allowed under 300 yards, and it is getting better each week from 265, 246, 215 last week. They allowed in BC, and until that catch by Corey Grant, 144 yards tonight. So 151 yards in the air is all Saskatchewan has mustered so far. Now they'll swing it out of the backfield, and Cates ran right through Baranachea and has a first down at the 45.
Well, it's a good point, Chris, because that defense was, it looked like Giles a little slow here, but he's limping. Boy, they just can't afford many more. But, you know, I'll get back to that point about the defense for the Edmonton Eskimos. That was sort of the question mark. You know, could the defense come around? You know, it showed some signs. It showed that it was improving. They got a little more pass rush, a little more pressure up front. They didn't have Jim Davis tonight, and he has been good for 7 games in the season. But if that comes around and becomes real consistent, this is a good football team, because then you look at their teams. Tristan Jackson. And Tristan Jackson is a guy that could break a game open by himself. Didn't tonight, but he can, and we know that. We've seen it. He scored 3 touchdowns 3 different ways this year already. And then the offense with Ricky Ray at the helm. That all adds up to a very good football team when you look at it on paper.
Stephen Giles has taken a knee and will get attention. And we'll find out what happened to him.
He looks like he's in the pocket there. And at the end of that was that Dario Romero again, kind of just gets pushed and grabs his leg.
Wondering if there shouldn't have been a flag thrown on that.
You know, it looked like he might have got pushed a little bit. And that's good news. It looks like he's going to be okay.
So Crandall back in to finish off.
You know, here's the things that we haven't seen this year from Saskatchewan that we saw tonight. Last two games for this team on defense, they've given up too many yards along the ground. That's been a problem. But I think offensively it was the drops. Really, we just haven't seen. We've seen consistent play from receivers, even if they're filling in and we're backups. There's a lot of drops tonight.
Downfield, that pass falls incomplete, well short of the intended target. 16 seconds remaining. And no frantic fourth quarter comeback tonight.
No, but for Rider fans, you know, they weren't going to go 18-0. We found that out 2 weeks ago. And this is still a team that will start to get some players back, that will have the biggest game of their season every single year coming up next week on Labor Day, which they are. I don't know what the overall record is off the top of my head, but I know they're in the win column more than they're not.
Always brings out the best in both teams. That pass falls incomplete as Crandall takes a hit, and it's third down.
Of course, that's not to rule out the Bombers in that game either. But that Labor Day game is a big one for Saskatchewan at home. And go ahead.
Just going to say that Chad Freoff, the third-string quarterback tonight. Marcus Crandall has misfired on his last 9. So there'll be some regrouping, but again, Labor Day will be interesting before a capacity crowd, an overflow crowd at Mosaic. They'll try and get back on the winning track. Draw Cates on third down, and Wes Cates has a first down to the 46 with 4 seconds left. And a little dust up behind the play. And Baranachea jawing with somebody. Mentioned earlier, Cates needed 64 yards to regain the rushing lead. The little consolation on the night, but he has done that with 76 after that 17-yard run. And down to the final play. Marcus Crandall dumps it off, and Cates one last time will be dropped at the 30-yard line. The Edmonton Eskimos, 27 unanswered points, and they up their record to 5-3. They hand the Saskatchewan Roughriders their second consecutive loss at 6-2. The biggest crowd of the year saw it. Most enjoyed it. Hope you did. 27-10 the final. So long, SportsCenter next.